pleasure to be here this morning. Welcome to all of the expatriates who are here, and also welcome to all of our colleagues who work every day in the local community. I have the opportunity today to talk a little bit about the role of philanthropy in the revitalization of Detroit. We heard a lot about this last year during the discussions of the Grand Bargain, but the role of philanthropy has been much broader than that, and it involves individuals who give generously, corporate foundations and corporate giving programs that have really stepped up at this time for Detroit, and private and community foundation support that's gone to a lot of major and small and organic initiatives throughout our community. And I know that as you work through your agenda today, you'll have the opportunity to hear from people who are involved in a lot of different ways. You'll have the opportunity to see a lot of different projects and programs. And I just wanted to give you a little heads up to single out the role of the foundation community and the corporate giving community and the individual support that's gone into a lot of these efforts, because it's real, it's long-term, we're committed, we're here to stay, and I think we've taken a new role in this current environment of taking more risk and thinking more carefully about how we work across sectors to bring back this great city. We work closely with Mayor Duggan. Anybody who could listen to his presentation this morning and not be deeply inspired just wasn't listening. So we view it as our role to work closely with him and with his administration. We work with the corporate sector on how to invest in physical revitalization of the city. We're involved in social initiatives across philanthropy to try to think about how to strengthen opportunity for residents of Detroit and to strengthen the overall region. So that's really what I wanted to say today, is to send you off with an eye towards thinking about the role of philanthropy and even considering how you can be a part of that in Detroit. So thank you very much.
Okay, you just heard stories from expats and you heard a little bit about philanthropy in Detroit. And now we have another way to engage our guests from out of town in Detroit nonprofits and charities. Last year, those of you who remember, we have that beautiful spiral-bound book. We gave our guests about 40 different nonprofits to choose from and see if they could get re-engaged. We learned last year that maybe too many choices are paralyzing. So this year, we worked with the folks at CrowdRise. Is Robert Wolf here? I wasn't sure if he was going to. Okay, Robert Wolf, I want to recognize Robert Wolf, the founder of CrowdRise, for helping us with this amazing technology platform that if you haven't used, I hope you will by midnight tonight when the deadline is. And what we did is we selected a handful of iconic Detroit charities. Robert's team worked with all of the expat volunteers who came on as champions to advocate for these nonprofits. And you're going to hear from some of those folks in a couple of minutes. But here's the deal. You go to CrowdRise/DetroitHomecoming.com. It's in your folders, and you'll find profiles of the nonprofits that we've selected. Iconic nonprofits: Belle Isle, Restoring the Aquarium, Charles H. Wright Museum, which we're going to be visiting for lunch, the Detroit Pal Project at Trumbull and Michigan Avenue, the Children's Fund that the Skillman Foundation has just created, the Detroit Public Schools Foundation. Invest Detroit has a fund for startup businesses in Detroit. And last but not least, the Michigan Humane Society that does so much for animals in the city of Detroit. So here's the deal. We have a challenge grant of $100,000 thanks to the Kresge Foundation, the Skillman Foundation, and Detroit Homecoming. And we will divide that money up based on who raises the most money today by midnight on the CrowdRise site. So the top nonprofit will get $40,000, and we'll go down from there. depending on who raises the most. So help the nonprofits who are on that site reach the top tier, and they'll get even more money through the challenge grant. So now I'd like to welcome our champions, the peers among you from representing the different nonprofits. I think they're all going to come out together. Yes. Oh, you got extras on. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to break another union rule. It's my. Okay. Now, I think we have a slide that shows all of the folks who are, at least we did have a slide, but why don't we start? Yes, Gwen Butler, there you are. You are the champion for the Charles Wright Museum. Take it away. This is her pitch. What we're doing is we're letting the champions tell you why you should invest in their nonprofit. Okay?
Good morning. I am Gwen Butler. I am a proud product of the Detroit Public School System and the University of Michigan Go Blue. So I'm really privileged and pleased to serve as the champion this morning for the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, which is the largest museum dedicated to the African American experience in the United States. The Wright Museum is proudly celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and the museum's mission is to open minds and change lives through the exploration and celebration of African American history and culture. The museum is an important educational resource for tens of thousands of school children from schools receiving Title I funding every year, and serves close to 500,000 people annually through its exhibitions, programs, and events. The Wright Museum provides a welcoming, inclusive means for people of all ages, races, and backgrounds to gain a new appreciation for the diversity of our nation. And the Wright's vision is of a world in which the adversity and achievement of African American history inspires everyone towards greater understanding, acceptance, and unity. Now, we all know that Detroit is America's largest majority African American city, the most important international crossing of the Underground Railroad, and a pivotal destination during the 20th century's Great Migration. So the city of Detroit is intimately intertwined with the history of African Americans. So to commemorate the 50th anniversary, Kresge eminent artist Charles McGee is creating, as his last major public work, a 40-foot outdoor sculpture entitled United We Stand. This work, to be installed at the museum's entrance in the heart of the Midtown Cultural District, will inspire all of Detroit's stakeholders towards greater tolerance and healing. The Wright has secured $50,000 in funding and is seeking to match that with individual contributions from the community. Will you help to make this vision of the City of Detroit's contemporary collaboration and unity a reality? Now, when Mary emailed me and put me once again to work during this event, she said, Gwen, I noticed that your firm, Capri Investment Group, is a major supporter, financial supporter of the Wright's 50th anniversary this year. And would you mind serving as the champion during Detroit Homecoming? And I said, of course, I can never turn Mary and Eric and Jim down. But when I went on the CrowdRise page yesterday, I realized that I really couldn't ask you guys to make a personal contribution if I hadn't made one. So last night at 11:22 p.m., I contributed $1,000 to this effort. Now, I'm just asking that all of you well-heeled expat, particularly the ladies in Louboutin shoes, think about, everything that we spend money on, and please, as we were all asked this morning, that we all received an email this morning from another expat, or two expats, asking us to contribute generously today. I would ask that you consider making a contribution not only to the Wright, but to all the wonderful nonprofits that are represented here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah, just for this is a female thing, I guess, but I remember someone told me years ago, she exhorted women to contribute. She said, think about the cost of what you're wearing, include the jewelry, and write the check. So next up, Shane Battier, advocating for Detroit PAL.
Good morning. My name is Shane Battier. I am a proud Detroit expat from Birmingham and a champion. I'm here to champion something that's near and dear to my heart. Well, first of all, let me give you a little background. I've won multiple championships on some pretty big stages. Two-time NBA champion, a one-time NCAA champion, and a three-time state champion in the great state of Michigan at Detroit Country Day. I don't think any of that would have been possible if I was not first a champion and a proud alumnus of the Detroit PAL organization. And some of my best basketball memories were loading up the family car, heading down to 1300 Beaubien, playing with those wood backboards and the warped floors, and literally cutting my teeth, learning what it meant to be a great teammate, to be a Detroit basketball player, a worker, and a champion. And so that's why I am ultra proud to be a champion of Detroit PAL today and enlist your help. We're coming back to Trumbull and Michigan. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am. First time since 1999, we are going to put a new youth baseball center at the corner of Michigan and Trumbull, the site of the old Tiger Stadium, yes. Detroit PAL is partnering with the old Tiger Stadium Conservancy, and we're going to develop a 2,500-seat stadium, multi-purpose stadium for baseball, softball, football, you name it, and we are going to reach 15,000 Detroit area youth and get them in after-school programs. The studies have shown that youth involved with after-school programs are 4 times as likely to graduate from high school. And so while we have unbelievably great nonprofits, this Detroit PAL stadium at Old Tiger Stadium is not about throwing strikes or scoring touchdowns. This is about educating our youth. This is about giving the lifeblood of our great city, our youth, a chance to make it great for the future. And so I hope you join me in supporting Detroit PAL and the new stadium at Old Tiger Stadium as we help play ball again at the corner of Michigan and Trumbull. Thank you very much.
Next up, Jacob Fenton talking about restoring the Belle Isle Aquarium.
Hi. Despite feeling very vertically challenged right now, I'm excited to be here. My name is Jacob Fenton. I'm an expat in from Seattle. I first heard about the Belle Isle Conservancy and the efforts to restore the aquarium from my uncle. He generously donated to restore many of the skylights there to honor his son and my first cousin. I chose to be a champion for this cause because of that personal connection alone. However, like many of you in this room, I also have great memories of Belle Isle and the aquarium in general. It was built in 1904 by Albert Kahn. This is the same famous architect who designed Angel Hall in Ann Arbor, the Detroit Athletic Club, the Fisher Building, amongst many others. It's a beautiful, beautiful building. And like Belle Isle itself, is in need of a little bit of TLC. This fundraising effort specifically is to replace the copper roof. It's a $40,000 project that is imminently achievable with the help of everybody in this room. We should all feel lucky that we have the ability to make such an immediate impact on something so material and symbolic to the city. As someone who's lived in Seattle for over 5 years, a city that's known for its public parks and museums, I've seen firsthand what these places can do to the fabric of a city and how they help build stronger communities. So in that spirit, I hope you'll join my CrowdRise effort and the efforts of my co-champions in supporting the Belle Isle Aquarium so we can put the copper crown back on the jewel that is the aquarium. Thank you guys so much, and enjoy the rest of the homecoming.
Thank you, Jacob. The next up is Wendy Hilliard. She's going to be talking about the Detroit Public Schools Foundation and a specific fund for homeless students attending Detroit Public Schools.
Thank you. So, as you heard, I'm a Detroiter and I'm a gymnast and I went to Cass Tech. But it's not just me. I have 3 sisters. We all went to public schools. 3 of them went to Cass, 1 went to Redford. But I tell you from that, we all love it. We all went on to college. 2 of my sisters went on to Howard and then Harvard Business School, and there are only 2 African-American sisters that have finished the business school. I mean, Detroit Public Schools have produced, and as you heard from the mayor, it's challenging. But a city has to have a strong public school system. Now, I was called, and I'm happy to support this because of my love of children and the youth and the public schools. But this grant that we're talking about, this crowd-raising, fundraising, is really for something specific. It's for the homeless students that are in Detroit. You may not know this, that during the school year 2014 and 15, there were 701 students that registered as homeless, trying to go to school. So it's anticipated that that number will stay the same and maybe grow. But beyond that, being homeless and trying to go through school and have social thing, emotional, physical learning, all of those barriers have to be overcome. So this Detroit Public Schools Foundation, which covers a lot of things, but for this effort, they're creating a safety net for these young people, able to offer supportive clothing, vouchers, eye exams, school supplies, field trips, and also in partnership with the Office of School Nutrition has been supportive in providing universal access to breakfast and lunch. So we are looking for $30,000 to provide the sufficient funding to support these 700 homeless Detroit public school homeless students, and to make sure that they stay in school. Now, you heard from the mayor earlier, it's the Detroit public school system, it's a big, big challenge. But for the city of Detroit to survive, you've got to have great kids, they've got to be educated, and there's such a history from the Detroit Public Schools. So I will say this, as all of these organizations are perfect, if you went to a Detroit public school, if you know somebody who went to a Detroit public school, if you read in the paper about somebody who went to a Detroit public school, I want you to support this event, and let's make it happen. Okay?
Great. Brian Razak is going to talk about supporting small businesses in Detroit.
Hey everybody, good morning. My name is Brian Razak. I'm the CEO of a company called Social Toaster out of Baltimore, and I am here to champion the Invest Detroit Foundation First Step Fund. The fund is an early stage investment fund that will put $10,000 up to $50,000 into qualifying businesses with follow-on rounds of up to $150,000. And often they will bring in other investors to raise up to $500,000 to get these companies started. The focus of the fund is to help prove out business concepts, demonstrate that a business can scale. There's a focus on minority and women-owned businesses, and fundamentally, it's about economic job creation. The reason that I chose this fund is because it represents something very near and dear to my heart. As I said, I am based in Baltimore. We are a startup company. To date, I've raised about $6.5 million, and I'm sure some of you are wondering, yes, actually Kevin Plank is one of my investors. But before Kevin, one of my early investors is a fund called the Propel Fund of Baltimore. And the Propel Fund of Baltimore, very similar to the First Step Fund, has similar missions. They put $250,000, they led a round for me that ultimately made it so that I was able to raise a total of $1.3 million for that round. Today, I have 35 employees, 28 of whom are in Baltimore, Maryland. So as my company grows, as I look now to open an office here in Detroit, I personally know firsthand how significant this early stage funding can be for building up companies, driving job creation, and we all know that prosperity in a city starts with job creation and demand. So I hope you will join me in supporting the First Step Fund and help to make Detroit a successful city. Thank you.
Sure. Good. Yes. Okay, Barbara, you don't have to use the podium. You can speak from there if you'd like. Barbara and her brother are advocating for the Detroit Children's Fund at Skillman Foundation.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
First, before I get started, I'm championing the Detroit Children's Fund, okay? Now, I believe this fund is the one that each and every one of you should write a check for because I follow directions, and that is getting the mic. So I want to start by saying that the Detroit Children's Fund is very important to San Antonio. We've heard a lot of conversation the last couple days about where Detroit is headed. One thing I like to share, and let me do a little bit of background. My name's Barbara Hawkins. I'm CEO of the George Gervin Foundation. I'm from Detroit, graduated from Martin Luther King High School, graduated my undergrad degree from Eastern Michigan University, then moved to San Antonio, Texas in 1980 to be with my brother. And after he retired from basketball, became the president and CEO of his foundation. I believe that indeed, as Detroiters, we have an obligation, a responsibility to support these initiatives. And under the Detroit Community Fund, the specific activity is to build capacity. So as we hear the mayor and we hear the governor, one thing about changing and improving neighborhoods is through building capacity within nonprofits. So when I first heard about this opportunity, I said, that is right on point, because I know that as some of us as givers, we want to give our monies to the right situation, the right programs, and sometimes we question those things. But when we give, we want to make sure that those organizations handle our monies properly. So under this foundation, the Detroit Children's Foundation, in building that capacity, training other nonprofits to properly handle money, to give them the skill sets, to make sure that they're delivering the services that we want and that this city needs. And if this city is to be better, we must start with our young people. And as Sean has indicated, he thinks his foundation that he's championing is good, and Brian is talking about his, but I'm going to offer y'all something. So that's why I believe that this foundation is the best one to support. For anybody who plays golf, is any golfers in the room? Raise your hand if you're a golfer. Yeah. Now, if you're a good golfer, I'd like for you to golf with my brother, George Gervin. So part of your donation would be golfing lessons from him, okay? And a golfing opportunity. And guess what? We'll pick up the tab as it relates to the golf fees. So if you're a good golfer now, y'all know him as the finger roll, the basketball player, but I'll tell y'all, he's picked up what they call the little bitty ball now, and he's outstanding from what they tell me. So please support the Detroit Children's Fund in your effort. And I'll start off, and can I get at least one person to raise their hand to say they may be interested in donating? Would you match me with something? I'd like to get at least, to beat these folks out, at least one donation. One? All right. What we're going to do? What we're going to match? How much? $2,000. You got it. I just raised $4,000, ma'am.
Saleswoman. Andre. Okay, and this is the best slide of all. And I know Sarah Endline is going to explain this slide in the context of being an advocate for the Michigan Humane Society. Take it away, Sarah.
So we'll end on a lighter note here. Sarah Endline, and when Mary and Eric asked me to talk about the Michigan Humane Society, I thought, I live in New York City, I own a chocolate company, and as you might know, dogs can't eat chocolate. So why would I be talking about the Michigan Humane Society? I grew up surrounded with incredible animals, whether it was my grandpa's horse on the farm, or the beagles for hunting, or the little cat at home, or the, Lassie, the first collie, or Black Beauty, the schnauzer after that, or the cockapoo named Dufay. I had it all in Michigan. And so I deeply love animals, and I didn't want to put a photo up about cruelty. And that's what you often see when you see a message from the Humane Society. For me, animals are about joy. So I had a moment of joy last week, and I wanted to share it with you. So you may know the Pope stopped by New York City. I'm sure, how many New Yorkers are in the room? Traffic, etc. We all experience this. And what I found really interesting as I was with thousands of incredible New Yorkers around Central Park during the Pope's visit, there was this little Pope dog. And I actually felt as if he was getting just as much attention as the Pope. And he was bringing so much incredible joy to the crowds, and the owner was just so proud. This is Schmitty, the weather dog. This guy actually gives weather on TV and walks around with his dog. But the joy was just like, for me, the memory of seeing the Pope, as part of that memory is the memory of the Pope dog. And I know it sounds funny, but it's true. And I think I just wanted to share that joy with you today, and I wanted to ask you for just a moment, how many of you have had pets in your life? Nice majority. So take just 5 seconds and think of a Michigan memory with your dog, with your cat, I had a turtle too, with your fish, whatever it was. Take 5 seconds with me. With that memory, I'd like to ask you to support the Michigan Humane Society to spread more joy, to stop the cruelty, and to bring animals to more people in Detroit and Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you. So there you have the pitches, and you can go to the CrowdRise/Detroit Homecoming site. Now, when I logged on this morning, we were at, collectively, for all the nonprofits, $17,499. Now, the way CrowdRise works is you can now use your own social media. Mike Jabara, who has raised $2,400 for the Detroit PAL project so far, sent out a note to friends and family, his social network, saying, hey, I'm having a birthday. If you'd like to do something for me, contribute to Detroit PAL. And so that's just an idea of leveraging your own networks. But remember, the deadline is midnight tonight. So we would love to see, collectively, with your networks, bring dollars from outside of the Detroit area into Detroit for these very worthy nonprofits. So we'll announce the winners tomorrow at noon in our closing program. And I want to thank the champions for making the pitches. Thanks to you all, and we'll keep telling people through the day how the numbers are going. Thank you. Thank you. After you. Thank you.
At this time, ladies